He walked into the diner the way powerful men often do, quietly, almost invisibly, dressed like someone with nothing to prove. No designer suit, no watch flashing wealth, just a simple jacket and tired eyes that had seen too much of the world. The bell above the door rang softly as he stepped inside, and no one recognized him. That was exactly how he liked it. This place was old, worn, and honest. Vinyl booths cracked with age, the smell of coffee soaked into the walls, and a handful of customers nursing cheap meals and quieter dreams. He chose a corner table, sat down slowly, and placed his hands flat on the table as if grounding himself. This was not about hunger. This was about truth. When the waitress approached, she carried herself with practiced exhaustion. Long shift, low pay, feet aching, smile still intact. She greeted him warmly, not because she expected anything, but because kindness had become habit. He looked up at her face, really looked, the way most people never did. She had the eyes of someone who had learned patience the hard way. He ordered a simple meal. Nothing special, nothing memorable. As she walked away, he leaned back and observed how she treated other customers. How she apologized when the kitchen delayed an order. How she laughed quietly when an elderly man cracked a joke. No cameras, no audience, just life as it was. When the food arrived, it was hot and unremarkable. He ate slowly, savoring the silence between bites. His mind drifted, not to money, but to regret. To decades spent measuring people by numbers. Net worth, efficiency, usefulness. He had built an empire, but somewhere along the way, he had lost the ability to recognize goodness without a balance sheet. When he finished, he placed a single bill on the table. $5. That was it. No explanation, no flourish, just $5 beside the plate. He stayed seated. This was the test. The waitress returned, cleared the dishes, and noticed the tip. For a brief moment, something crossed her face. Not anger, not disappointment, just a quiet pause. A breath. He watched closely, expecting something. A forced smile. A muttered insult. A complaint. Anything to confirm what the world had taught him about people. Instead, she picked up the bill, looked at him, and spoke softly. "I hope your day gets better." That was it. No sarcasm, no bitterness, no judgment, just concern. Genuine, human concern. The words hit him harder than any accusation ever could. He felt his chest tighten, as if something long buried had shifted. He had given her an insult disguised as generosity, and she had responded with grace. Not because she was weak, but because she was strong enough not to let $5 define her worth. He looked up at her, his eyes suddenly wet. "Why would you say that?" he asked. She shrugged gently. "People don't leave $5 tips because they're cheap. They leave them because they're carrying something." He had no response. For the first time in years, words failed him. She walked away, leaving him alone with a truth he could no longer ignore. He sat there long after his coffee went cold. That sentence echoed in his mind. Carrying something. He had carried ambition. He had carried fear. He had carried loneliness disguised as success. And he had tested people instead of trusting them. When he finally stood up, his legs trembled slightly. He paid the bill properly this time. More than properly, but he knew money was not the point anymore. That night, back in his mansion, surrounded by silence and priceless art, he could not sleep. He kept hearing her voice. Not loud, not dramatic, just honest. He thought of the will locked away in his study, the one filled with conditions, clauses, and cold calculations. Rewards for loyalty, punishments for failure. Everything quantified. For the first time, it felt wrong. He called his lawyer the next morning and asked for changes. Not small ones. Big ones. Foundations for workers. Trusts for people who would never know his name. Scholarships. Community kitchens. Dignity without application forms. And one specific request. He returned to the diner weeks later. Same corner table. Same bell above the door. The waitress recognized him instantly. Not because of money, but because some faces stay with you. He stood up when she approached. "I owe you an apology," he said. She looked confused. "For what?" "For testing you. For assuming the worst. For forgetting what kindness looks like. She smiled, the same tired, beautiful smile. We all forget sometimes. He handed her an envelope. She didn't open it immediately. She looked at him instead. Is this another test? She asked gently. He shook his head. No, this is gratitude. Inside was more money than she had ever seen. Enough to change her life. Enough to make her cry. But what mattered more was the letter attached, written in his own hand, explaining why she mattered. Why her words mattered. Why her humanity mattered. As he walked out of the diner for the last time, he felt lighter than he had in decades. Not because he had given something away, but because he had finally received something priceless. A reminder that character shows itself not when people are rewarded, but when they are overlooked. That true wealth is revealed not in abundance, but in response. And that sometimes, a single sentence, spoken without expectation, can rewrite more than a will. It can rewrite a life.